All right, let's jump straight into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're taking a really fascinating look right under the hood of enterprise communications. We're going to dive deep into the source documentation for configuring wake-up calls on the REX IP-PBX system. Now, if you've ever stayed in a hotel, or maybe worked in a massive facility, you've probably used a wake-up call. But have you ever actually stopped to wonder how the underlying network handles that request? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how this machine thinks and how we can command it to do our bidding.
It really boils down to this perfectly relatable question. How do you tell a network to wake you up? It's this beautifully simple human need. We just literally need to be awake at a certain time, colliding head-on with the strict, logical, completely code-driven world of an IP-PBX system. We're taking a purely human intention and translating it into hard network architecture.
So here is our roadmap for the Explainer. First, we'll look at the REX Wake-up feature. Next, Path 1, phone extension. Then we'll switch gears to Path 2, finding line IDs, followed closely by setting ID 853, and finally, we'll see how all of this culminates in the scheduled notification.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the REX Wake-up feature. The source document points out that this wake-up function is built right in, and it actually gives us two completely different ways to talk to the system. Method A is what we're going to call the front end. That's just using the physical phone extension itself. Method B, on the other hand, is the back end, where we use XML commands straight into the web GUI's URL bar. It is the classic tale, really. The end user simply mashing buttons on a desk versus the sysadmin meticulously coding in the background.
Moving right along to Section 2, Path 1, using the phone extension.
Imagine for a second you're an end user sitting on the edge of a hotel bed. You definitely do not care about servers or XML code. You just want to wake up, right? You just have this physical hardware sitting in front of you. Let's say you're at extension 101 and you want to wake up at 10:25 a.m. Step 1, you pick up the handset, dial *36, and you wait to hear that crisp dial tone. Step 2, you simply punch in the time, 10:25. Step 3 is where the system actually talks back to you. You'll hear this robotic voice confirming the feature is now activated 10:25. Then you just hang up the phone and go to sleep. Step 4, at exactly 10:25 a.m., your physical phone starts ringing. You groggily pick it up for Step 5 and you hear your scheduled notification. Honestly, it's incredibly straightforward.
All right, let's pivot to Section 3, Path 2, finding line IDs.
Now go ahead and put on your hacker hoodie because we are going behind the scenes and bypassing that physical phone entirely. The absolute first thing we have to do for this backend method is log into the REX IP-PBX with an admin account. Why? Because to the underlying system, your phone isn't really extension 680 or extension 600. That is just a friendly label for humans. To inject our wake-up command, we need to know the system's true internal name for your device, which is called the line_ID. By inputting a very specific XML command right into our browser's URL bar, specifically, we're querying ID 4000. The PBX spits back this raw XML document. And if you look closely at the output, the friendly analog extension number 680 is actually firmly mapped to line ID 1. This is the secret handshake. We now know for sure that if we want to manipulate extension 680, we absolutely have to target line ID 1.
And this works for IP extensions too, just with a slightly different query, for ID 4020. Scanning through that output, we can see that IP extension 600 is recognized internally by the system as line ID 13. So whether you're dealing with analog or IP, securing this line ID is the absolute prerequisite to commanding the network.
Which brings us to Section 4, Path 2, setting ID 853.
Now that we finally have our target's internal coordinates, we can move to the actual configuration phase. To inject our desired wake-up time, we have to know exactly what variable controls the alarm clock. Well, according to the documentation, that magic variable is ID 853, which is also known in the system as wakeup_n. This right here is our target. This is the exact parameter we have to manipulate to set the time.
But let's check out the initial state of the system before we change anything at all. We fire off a query specifically looking at ID 853 on our target, line ID 1. Notice the value there? It is totally empty, just a blank set of quotes. The system currently has 0 wake-up time scheduled for this phone. It's a complete blank slate. So now for the really satisfying moment where we take control. We fire off our set command via the URL bar, telling the system to configure ID 853 to equal 1025 for line_ID 1. Checking the XML response that comes back, right at the top, we get a status saying, OK, the REX IP-PBX has accepted our command. We've completely bypassed the phone and written our will directly into the system's brain.
But, as any good sysadmin knows, you always verify. So, we run our get command one more time, just to check the parameter. And, boom, we have visual confirmation. The parameter ID853 now securely holds the value of 1025. The trap is officially set.
Finally, Section 5, the scheduled notification. You see, whether you casually tapped some buttons on your desk phone or meticulously injected XML code as a back-end administrator, the REX system treats both of those inputs with equal respect. At exactly 10:25 a.m., the physical hardware on the desk rings. The user lifts the handset, fully expecting to start their day, and they hear this exact, undeniable robotic phrase, "Hello, this is your scheduled notification." Both the simple front-end user experience and the complex back-end system architecture culminate in this exact identical physical payoff.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. When you are standing face-to-face with enterprise technology, like the REX IP-PBX, which path will you choose to wield its power? Do you prefer the simple, tactile convenience of front-end push buttons? Or does your curiosity demand the precise behind-the-scenes control of back-end XML commands? I mean, it all achieves the exact same goal, but the journey you take to get there tells you a whole lot about how you like to learn and interact with our digital world. Thank you so much for joining me as we unraveled this system together, and I highly encourage you to keep looking for that hidden architecture behind all the everyday tools you use.